I never really agreed with breaking a lot of windows or smashing anonymous cars because, you know, what if the car you smashed was, the guy really needed it to get to work the next day? Starting from Stop the Draft Week, which I photographed, that never seemed like a good idea. But in any case, demonstrations were fun. It stopped being fun on People's Park on Bloody Thursday, when the police just went on this literally murderous rampage. And I think that changed a lot in a lot of people's minds. Anyway, I've got 38 seconds to go, and I can't think of anything else to say. 34, 33, 32. So we'll leave it at that.
Jesse Aragon, the son of farm workers, is the first Latino and youngest mayor in Berkeley's history. He's a graduate of Cal, the first in his family to go to college. Mayor Aragon.
Well, I want to first thank Steve Wasserman from Heyday for inviting me to be part of this panel. It's really an honor to be alongside these leaders who help conceptualize and create People's Park. And on behalf of the city of Berkeley, I'm pleased to share my thoughts on the significance of the park and recognize this important moment in history. The 50th anniversary of People's Park is a moment that we should recognize, and we should also educate future generations about the creation of the park and the symbolism of the park and honor the legacy of the park. And I want to take this opportunity to thank Heyday and thank Tom Dalzell for producing an amazing book. I've had the opportunity to take a look at it over the past few days and read the oral histories of people that were there, see the photographs, really try to live the experience of what had happened. And obviously, I was not there in 1969, but the events that took place in that generation have had a lasting impact on our society and have also inspired my lifelong commitment to fighting for social justice. We know that Berkeley particularly had an important role during this transformative decade. The free speech movement was born here on the UC Berkeley campus. There was many protests and social movements that happened on the Berkeley campus, including being a focal point for the anti-war movement. And Berkeley became an epicenter for progressive ideals and for political action. And so it's this long, rich history that still guides the city's values and the work to this day. I believe that our world is forever changed for the better because of the revolutionary spirit of the 60s. The fight for equality, for our environment, for love and inclusivity are all things that continue to this day. And the hope and optimism of that time are things that are so desperately needed now with our president and the direction our country and our world is moving in. And so it's in this context that People's Park was born. The creation of People's Park was truly a culmination of movements that took place throughout the decade in order to create a vision of cooperation and free expression. The park was envisioned, and still to this day is a true free speech forum, a place for open space and recreation, and a tribute to the power of the community. The creation of the park, I believe, reflects the ability of the community to mobilize, to create peace in the threat of oppression, and also represents the community taking over public land to prioritize public land for the public good. Turning a muddy parking lot into a park was a bold move at the time because it included taking over land that was owned by the University of California. But it also was a forward-thinking move in our broader fight for climate action to prioritize land for open space over automobile parking, and to create a true space for gathering and for community and for free expression. So the symbolism of the creation of the park and what it represents is still relevant to this day, and I think it's so important through this book and through forums like this and hopefully through oral history that we can let future generations know about the park, what it means, and the importance of it to inspire future social movements. It's important to honor, please, if I can please continue. So, just in closing, I think it's important to honor James Rector and the many people who were injured and fought for the creation of the park. It's also important to remember our past and the tragedies that have occurred and their continuing relevance to our society. So to me, the history of the park is something we should continue to honor and to promote for future generations. And I know this is an unpopular position, but I do feel that it's important for me to express it. I also believe that there is a place for a new vision for the park, one that builds on the values of creating a place for community gathering. So, anyways. So in closing, thank you for having me here.
You can hold your comments until the general discussion. Each person, let it.
So,
So,
I just want to say that I am here. Okay. I think that we should probably.
Okay.
I just say,
Fight the university! Save the park! Save the park! Save the park! Save the park!
I just want to say that I think free speech involves letting all perspectives be heard. So thank you for.
The park! Save the park! Save the park! Save the park!
For the moment, let's accept the proposition that the Brower Center is a liberated zone where everyone can speak their piece and their opinions will be subjected to public scrutiny. But let's conduct ourselves with and to honor the idea that free speech extends to everyone and the the best way to combat speech you dislike is to counter it with a more compelling argument. I'd like to welcome. It's one of the interesting things about publishing this book that we always knew that people would come out of the woodwork, including people whose voices we wanted to include in the book, but we didn't know how to reach. I received this afternoon an interesting email, and then I spoke on the telephone to someone I didn't know. That man was in a photograph taken by a Chronicle photographer at the time. It shows a National Guardsman and a woman, a protester, hugging in a kind of embrace. It isn't clear from the photograph who initiated this embrace exactly, and it wasn't known what was happening in that. That former National Guardsman reached out to me today. I said, please come. I'd like to hear what you have to say. I'd like to ask you to welcome Robert Thompson, former National Guardsman.
Thanks, Mayor. You set them up for me. Never fails. Yeah, as Steve said, first, thank you, Steve, for inviting me today. This is a shock. When I woke up this morning, I had no clue I'd be standing here tonight with you folks. I want to say it's been 50 years. How you doing? Last time you saw me, I was in a gas mask standing in the Chancellor's house area. The woman, she initiated, I'm part of the Me Too movement, so I would never have initiated that. She came to me with a flower, and she wanted to put it on me. The next frame of that photograph, if it exists, would show me doing this with my rifle, saying, what do I do now? So it was a shock. That day was towards the end, I believe, of our time there, if memory serves. And it was that day where those of us in the Guards, those of us who didn't want to go to Vietnam were in the Guards. We were tired. We were tired of the whole thing. We, though, stood up to our officers. There's a parking garage across the street somewhere there. I've taken my wife there one time to show her. And we, Ronald Reagan really wanted to gas you guys. He really wanted to gas you guys. And it was our platoon, our guys sat there, and we were mostly college educated or going through college, and so had some brains. And we spoke to our officers. They asked us, can you guys handle this? And we said we could. And so they did not gas all those folks. There was a couple of thousand people if there was 5. It was huge. We were all wetting our pants the moment we arrived. And I don't know the street, but it's right in front of the college. So the day that we arrived, we got out of our trucks and we got into our V formation, which we had trained over and over and over for, never thinking we would use it. And all you guys, yeah, some of you, you were coming at us pretty hard. I was 22 at the time. I was from San Jose. I had no idea what I was doing there, except standing in a V formation with my bayonet on. And then the days sort of blurred by because you all protested sort of like when you wanted to. And somebody said it was fun. Yeah, it was fun because you showed up and we had to go, and then we had to come back to the marina, and then we had to go because you were doing this thing on a time clock, right? You guys know, yeah, right? Yeah, you did that. And it was fun for us too, sort of.